Captain's Log Supplemental. So how's this for a holodeck program idea? Let's create a villain who can defeat the smartest guy on the ship, who, by the way, happens to be an android. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? It's not like you would accidentally create a sentient hologram who has access to the ship's computer and controls. Oh, no, wait. No, that's exactly what would happen. It's elementary, dear Enterprise crew. This is why we have safety protocols. In my reality, we would have just programmed a villain who knew where Data's off switch was. It's much less dangerous.
Data, Holmes, old boy, what are we looking for?
For whatever finds us, my dear Watson.
Increase to full power!
Gives me the creeps. I feel like something's watching us.
Savick, you go right on quoting regulations.
Hello, computer.
I knew I would.
You betrayed your uniform!
Target their cargo hold. Time to take out the garbage.
Smooth as an android's bottom, eh, Data?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Aspires to be better than I am.
Come on. You'll be fine.
5 years in space. God help me.
This is the best day of my life!
A phaser? You didn't use it? Swords are fun.
Program complete. Enter when ready.
Welcome back to another Retrek Review, where each week we talk about Star Trek, and this week we're talking about Episode 3 of Season 2 of Star Trek The Next Generation, and that episode is entitled Elementary, Dear Data. It originally aired December 5th, 1988. It was written by Brian Allen Lane. I believe this is his only credit for Star Trek in general. He did write for other television series at the time, like Moonlighting and Remington Steele. And I also believe he co-wrote an episode of MacGyver. It was directed by Rob Bowman, a returning director who has also done Season 1 episodes, Where No One Has Gone Before, The Battle, Too Short a Season, Data Lore, Heart of Glory, and recently, Season 2, The Child.
Nice.
The synopsis for Elementary Dear Data is the Enterprise is threatened when a character in Data and LaForge's holodeck simulation becomes sentient. We had some guest appearances also for this episode. We had, namely right off the bat, Daniel Davis as James Moriarty. Does anybody recognize Daniel Davis from anything?
He's the butler from The Nanny, isn't he?
He's the butler from The Nanny.
Oh, yeah.
She had style, she had flair, she was there.
And that's how she became a nanny.
Yeah.
Wow, that's funny.
Yep. Alan Shearman as Lestrade. Biff Maynard as Ruffian, the guy who gets his hand crumpled.
Oh, yeah.
Diz White as Prostitute, so I'm assuming it's the lady that speaks to Moriarty about the Arch.
Oh, well, no. Didn't pick up on the fact that that's what she
was. Anne Elizabeth Ramsey as Clancy, the engineer lady assistant in the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
She had a familiar face. I looked into it a little bit. She's in a good handful of stuff, but maybe the thing that either one of you would remember, she is in like a season 3 episode of House where she is a photographer and passes out and has a baby, and they're trying to like figure it out. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
And then probably my second favorite next to Daniel Davis is Richard Mearson as Pie Man. If you don't remember Pie Man, we'll certainly talk about him soon. Well, that was the introduction of the episode, but before we move on to supporters and introductions of our guests, let's ask Caleb what he thought of the episode first.
Boy, let's see. Okay, so last week when we were talking about it, I was like, I can't believe we're doing another Sherlock episode, but it was really good. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it to
Kudos.
Okuda.
Two Akudas.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very high. It's not a full,
Wow.
but it's a 2 at least.
Yeah, I was a little surprised last week when you said you were like, ugh. And I was like, I don't think you're gonna hate it.
Yeah, I don't know why my initial reaction was that. I think what it is too is it's like as like the series is new, I enjoy like holodeck stuff, but like sometimes I feel like they do that when they have like nothing else to like do as a story.
Mm-mm.
Because, I'm here for the space stuff. And they're like, hey,
Absolutely.
we don't have any space stuff this week. Because even in this episode, the whole time I was watching, I was just like, there must not be anything going on like out in space.
It's a real boring week.
Yeah. But yeah, it was good.
I'm glad you ended up enjoying it. Well, introduction to our guest for this week. You know him as Lieutenant Silva on our Vietnam Capta RPG nights, but we know him as our friend Andrew. So, Andrew, what did you think of Elementary Dear Data?
So I too thought it was very entertaining, well done. It's interesting looking at it basically as just and for entertainment. It's like, oh, this is great, but when you start looking at its review and start picking it apart,
Yeah.
that's when you start like, there are certain flaws that I'm sure we'll get into, but
Yeah.
overall, I think it was a very strong episode.
That's every episode of Star Trek where you're like, when you really start to nitpick stuff, you're like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's really true. It's like the same thing. I'm like a, huge nut about next gen, and then I start to watch it and I'm like, this is rough. There's some episodes here that are real rough.
Yeah.
And not even the ones that like, immediately obviously everybody would be like, well, yeah, those are the terrible episodes. Like, no, there's other episodes that I didn't think were that terrible and they're really bad.
That's funny.
Well, very good. Well, before we get into the review, let us first, right off the bat, thank Ed Markstar, and for not asking the holodeck to recreate nefarious enemies who could defeat any of us.
True. He does not do that.
He does not.
What are the parameters? Till we're dead. Just go as far as you're willing to take.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
We also had a new subscriber to the channel, and that subscriber's name is Cobalt Duck.
Ooh. So a blue duck. Nice.
So thanks for
cool.
subscribing, Cobalt
Warrior.
Duck. We appreciate it. And then you guys don't know it, but we are recording on an off day. So I know you're probably maybe have some other comments out there in the free world, but right now we only have this one from Ed Markstar on our Where Silence Has Lease previous episode. And he says, I had a Superman comic book in 1965 that included a bonus reprinted story from the 1940s about a giant space alien head floating above Metropolis, threatening to cause death and destruction unless his commands are obeyed by every citizen of the city. Where Silence Has Lease plays out very closely to that old comic book story, so much so that I couldn't stop comparing the two and just enjoy the episode on its own. It's not that this Star Trek episode is lacking, but that old comic book story was just plain awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah. I asked him to, I haven't gotten a reply yet. I asked him for which issue specifically, so I could maybe show an image of it here or some panels of it here while we're talking. I didn't get back from him, but maybe by the time I edit this, he'll get back to me and it'll be in the video.
Cool.
So yeah, we appreciate that. Big Superman fans here, so that's good. So we thank everybody for your comments, your subscriptions. We appreciate it. If you're looking to hear your comment read on the podcast, make sure to join Patreon. But if you don't, wait a day later and you'll hear it on our new series, Hailing Frequencies Open, where we comment on your comments while we were commenting on Star Trek. So without further ado, let's get into the review. So the really funny thing is, at first, I had this very like crack my knuckles and like dig deep with like my notes on this thing, and then I just started to watch it, and I was like, I don't think I have a lot to like write down. Like usually in an episode, I have well, that thing doesn't make any sense, or why does that look like that, or what is it? I just found
Yeah.
myself just like anything that I had an issue with in the episode, I was like, well, they're on the holodeck, so it's like, yeah, whatever, kind of a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, even like the major issue that I had was kind of like I didn't really understand how the computer itself would just allow
Oh,
itself to take control of the holodeck, but they set the parameters to be pretty vague.
pretty loosey goosey, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So like that's fine. I just was like but I think that's what makes it an interesting episode overall is what makes something alive and sentient,
But
like that whole topic.
that does bring up an interesting question of do they have like they have safeguards about not making weapons to hurt each other, but is there no other safeguards?
It totally makes it seem like so like later in the episode when they're doing the whole thing like Geordi goes over to the computer. It's really weird that the computer doesn't alert Geordi to the fact that like okay,
Hmm.
we can do that, but like you're gonna bypass a lot of like security parameters to do this. And
Yeah.
also, when the thing goes off on the council, like where Worf is, all he sees is like some weird like power surge or power like
Hmm.
high power activity, and then that's it. Like you would think at a security station it would detail like literally what just happened. It wouldn't be like a blip on his thing, and if you didn't weren't looking at it, like oh well, it's nothing.
Yeah, because it almost gives you the feeling that like Moriarty like could have came out of the holodeck if he wanted to, because that much security protocol had been overwritten on the computer.
Yeah, I agree.
Like they bypass phrasing it as like defeat data gave the computer all this power to like take into complete like control of the ship.
Yeah,
But you
it
would
is.
think that it would also be like, hey, so just so you know, before you submit to this, like the computer is accessing like everything.
Honestly, the thing that I should it makes the most sense, and I should have thought about it. I, but you saying it made me go like, oh yeah, that is very true, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Is like the computer itself is
Hmm.
creating a villain to defeat Data, so
Yeah.
therefore the computer is against the computer, kind of a thing. It's a weird,
Yeah, yeah, because that's basically it's just the computer, the whole thing.
right?
It's just yeah, it's kind of weird.
And I think they're so early into things like in Star Trek and science fiction that like they don't really know how to properly explore like holograms being sentient. They're just like, wouldn't it be crazy if this was a thing? And then that's kind of all
Mhm.
they do.
Well, this is the first episode where they kind of explain the whole like matter, antimatter,
Yes.
like transporter thing, like officially.
Right, right, right.
So you're like, oh, okay, so that makes sense. But like, yeah, you would just think there'd be some more safety protocols there for the computer to take over the ship and also be able to kill the crew members. Like you would think there'd be a, you know,
Yeah, something.
I mean, self-destruct has two voice,
Yeah.
verifications. So,
Yeah, so it opens up with Geordi having that like ship of the old Victory, which was cool.
that is cool.
But I was thinking the whole time when like LeVar Burton is like touching it, I was just thinking
Hmm.
the prop department and or if this is like a collector piece and the person like let the production staff like borrow it, they probably
Yeah.
were like, "Oh my God, please don't touch this
Don't touch
thing."
this. Yeah. Yeah, it was. I thought that too.
Because, like, it, let alone, like, all of the ship parts are fine, but all of those fine little, like,
Hmm.
wires going to, oh, man.
Why did he have it in the engineering, by the way? They never explained that. He just built it.
No.
Because that's where he works. So instead of like working, he's working on the ship, and he's got everybody else doing engineering stuff. Because even Picard is like, "Yeah, simpler times, huh?" And just like, yeah, but like sailing the oceans is way different than endless space. Like it's like not even in the same.
No.
Mm. And then when Geordi like freaks out and leaves the holodeck the first time, I was like, "What is happening?"
Well, that gets into one of my issues with the episode. It was
Mm.
Diana Muldaur. Let's be honest, she's not really a character. She is an instrument to propel the story.
Mm-hmm.
Because they went, Jordy rushed out and went to 10 forward so that way they could bring
Yeah.
Dr. Pulaski into it
Mm-hmm.
just so she could basically keep going, you're dumb, you're dumb, you're dumb. And they could keep making the holodeck more and more
Yeah.
complicated till they went too far.
Because of course she's just sitting at 10 forward drinking, not, not being in
No.
the med bay where she belongs.
No. There's nothing going on this week. Nothing.
Like, oh, Data will never understand human emotions.
He's a fool.
He's an idiot. And you're a fool if you think he will. So like the first episode of the season, I kind of liked her character. The second episode, I don't like her character. And now in this episode, it's like, oh, I see what they're building towards, and I'm not a fan. Like this is her fault. Like this whole episode is her fault, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a little Geordie's, but it's mostly her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the only way that they could get him to go that far, you know?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, if she wasn't egging them on, Jordy would have basically made up a story or he would have just given up. He wouldn't have gone to
Yeah.
the point of the
Yeah.
end result.
Yeah.
And I think that whole argument too that they have with like, oh, well, you're just using your memory to remember certain books and stories, and you recognize the pattern and can that it combined a few stories together. Like that doesn't make you human. And it's like, no, that's like discernment and like thinking processing. It's not like a computer thing. It's not like a
Yeah. It's not like Chat GPT.
yeah. He's using like his memory and processing it. And she's still like, nope, nope, you're a robot. Almost implying that like she's smarter, but she's like not. And then she goes on to have this very like really bad conversations with Moriarty throughout the whole episode. Like she does nothing really. She's like she plays stupid and it's like okay.
I don't know what
Like,
that is.
but
Yeah.
I think it brings up some interesting questions. I think that's at the heart of it.
Yeah, totally. It really totally does. There was a funny part in the intro too where they run away. They're like, oh yes, to the holodeck, and then they go, and then the assistant comes over and she's like, where will you be? And then it's very clear that they had Brett Spiner like do ADR of him saying, we will be
Hmm.
at 221B Baker Street, right? She
Yes,
comes
yeah.
out and she's like, sir? So the thing that made me think about it, how weird it is they originally filmed it to just be like they run off camera and then they don't respond to her. Or it was really bad audio, I guess. But like, let's say they don't respond to her and then she's just like, hello? And then they were like, no, they have to say something.
Clancy, I'll be gone for a while. See that no one touches it.
Aye, sir. And where can I reach you?
It can be reached at 221B Baker Street.
Sir?
That was really
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
I enjoyed when they first went into the holodeck. I enjoyed them looking at all the like trinkets and stuff. And like
Mhm.
obviously they were callbacks to all the books and stuff like that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that.
It's also like it was really nice too that like I was thinking because I never really went and watched like the older Sherlock Holmes movies. So I really only have like his apartment set up mostly in my mind as the Benedict Cumberbatch house, which I know is not like the same style as this
That's
episode.
yeah, modern version of his apartment, yeah.
But I just kind of generally liked how a lot of it made me just compare the two, and I generally enjoyed like the setup. It had like that immediate like Sherlock Holmes flair without really
Hmm.
being specific.
Yeah, I mean the violin playing like by the fireplace is like classic
Right.
Sherlock. Yeah, it was cool.
Get to see 10 Forward again. I
Yeah, but that like I said earlier though, that part where he like gets up and like slams the book.
oh
He's like, I'm sick of this. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And he like leaves. I was just like, I have no idea what is going on. I have no idea why he's mad.
you were like Data.
Hmm. I was like, he solved it. I mean, what are we doing?
All set. We can go back to playing with our ship. I thought of you, Caleb, when Pulaski and Jordy are going back and forth in 10 Forward, and he's like, no, no, no. He's like, all these things, and I forget exactly what Jordy says, but he basically then says that Data has really good deduction, like
Hmm.
equal to Sherlock Holmes. And when they cut back to the angle of like over Pulaski looking at them at the table, he's like, "Oh, Data's like very pleased." It reminded me of the mutiny thing that you said last week. When,
Yeah.
yeah, it's very true, Andrew. That like you said, that where it's just like Pulaski was just the foil to be like, "No, you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot. No, you're an idiot."
Yeah. She was very one-dimensional this episode.
Yes,
Kind of has been
a little bit.
so far.
And then the thing that we were that the the guest star thing notated because it is a speaking role. We enter the holodeck and we hear summer meat, summer sweet, pies, pies.
Very impressive.
Your first visit to a holodeck, Doctor?
Hi, man.
Pie man.
Yeah, that's really funny.
Oh, it was really funny.
I
Oh,
appreciate the London set piece,
yes, yes.
but I thought it was fun.
So when they flashed to Daniel Davis's character on the street, did you kind of know immediately that it was Moriarty, Caleb, or no?
I feel like in every Sherlock Holmes thing, it's always Moriarty.
True.
It's like it's like Superman and Lex Luthor. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I had an inkling that that's who it was going to be, but that was fine. He was pretty good, honestly, as Moriarty. I enjoyed him.
Yeah, he's fantastic.
I've become more than Moriarty.
The only thing that and they don't address it, and I probably you guys both caught on to it too, like later or maybe perhaps at the same time. So he watches Geordi call for the arch, and
Hmm.
he's like, "Oh, that's strange." And then Geordi does all of the parameter stuff where it's like make him an adversary that's capable of defeating Data. And then he watches and then they leave and then he goes over. And it's like, but he wasn't sentient yet until Geordi makes that command.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it's like he should have not have recognized like it's fine for Moriarty to be interested in them, but the program itself should not see the arch. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, why wouldn't everybody in the street see them doing that? Like, so
Oh, that's true. Yeah, because the computer didn't really become like self-aware until after that.
right.
Because that was the same with the woman when Moriarty
Right.
brought her over. It's like, shouldn't she just be like, I don't see anything?
Right, true. That's very true too. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the original series episode when they go over to the wall and it's the Irish prostitute with Kirk.
Mm.
He's like,
Yeah.
"No, he's a witch. He's a witch." Then we get the famous line, "The game is afoot."
Game, my dear Watson.
Here's an interesting question. When the computer was making the second attempt, why did it mush two stories together? Because I requested a Sherlock Holmes type story,
Hmm.
and the computer didn't make up a story. It just went, here's the
Yeah,
Red-Headed League and the, what was the one with the serpent?
I think it was literally the one that I had you do with Sova.
Hmm.
With it's called the Speckled Band.
Yes. So it's like it didn't make up a story. It just took those two stories and smushed them. And it was like new one.
Look what I did.
Yeah. I think it's because it's kind of like modern AI, or at least AI from last year, where it just like runs through like, okay, here's all of the Sherlock books. Here's like two stories, and then just like pulls from that.
Right.
That's kind of how
It's
I interpreted it anyway.
yeah. I I agree with both of you. It does seem like the computer's limited, but then at the same time it has the ability to create Moriarty. So it's hard to know like, what to believe. Well, this is the halfway point, so go down to the comment section and write pies. Hi.
Colin.
Some are meat and some are
Some are
sweet.
sweet. It's a good tagline.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
God. There's a line at the end that really like legitimately made me laugh out loud. I can't wait to get to it.
Okay. Okay. I thought Moriarty's lair was decent. Thought that
Yeah.
I enjoyed after they find the scratch marks. I liked all the stuff with him leading up with like the shoe thing, and I liked how he split between being Data and then like an approximation of Sherlock Holmes. Like that was fun.
Hmm. I'm glad he didn't stay in character the whole time, if I'm
Right,
being honest.
same. Yeah,
Yeah.
same.
Especially at the end too, like when Picard goes in with him, he's just Data.
Yes, yes.
I'd be like, I would be annoyed if he was like if he was still acting like Sherlock. You messed this up. You messed this all up, Data. Like this is your fault.
Yeah. And I think we can all agree probably the one thing we were all thinking was how did the paper exist outside of the holodeck?
Mm.
That is
I
true.
was that is a good point. Well, that goes back to what I said about the Moriarty probably could go outside of the holodeck.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Yeah.
I was more wrapped up in that scene of like what was on the paper than because his reaction is just so like,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I'm done, absolutely done with this, and he just like leaves, and
Why
it's
does it
so bad. Yeah, it's so
why
bad they
does it
go
frighten
right.
you, Holmes?
It's
Yeah.
so bad that they go right up to the captain's table like still in costume. Like that was funny to me.
Yeah.
They're
Look
sitting
at
there, they're
it.
sitting there, yeah.
The charcoal drawing of the silhouette of the Enterprise. Good God.
Oh my God, he's got control of the ship.
That was the other thing too. Like, what?
Yeah,
It was just like, how?
Because
How?
hacking the codes is realistic.
Yes,
But
yes.
I agree with you. How on earth would a holodeck, which is supposed to be isolated, controlling the engines?
yeah. I mean, the Enterprise used to change the bridge location just by running a few wires. So
True. I don't have a problem with him
don't
calling the Arch and like downloading things and like changing prior like protocols to the
yeah.
holodeck. Like that's fine.
And don't forget this Enterprise has already has two bridges
That's
installed.
true. That's true. You were fearful that they were going to talk about we might have to separate to get.
I thought that was how they're gonna have to get rid of Moriarty. They were gonna have to separate, leave him on the saucer.
So if you don't know, Andrew, Caleb's not a big fan of the saucer
You
separation.
I'm sure Andrew agrees with me though that it's like it's so cheesy and so like such a feat of like engineering that it would not be practical.
Even in the first episode when they did it, I was like, this seems like a very specific
Yeah.
thing. Because I honestly think they did it so that way they could have families on board, so they could be like, "Oh, if something's wrong, we'll just saucer," and then all the families leave, and all the military people stay on the lower thing, the lower
Yeah.
part.
Yeah, they do. And I'm fine with that. there's an episode too where they're like all the kids get kidnapped and they're like, "Hey, you joined Starfleet. You knew this was a risk coming out here in space, like with your family." Like, and then it was like, "Oh, okay." But then the next episode, it was like, "Hey, this is really dangerous. We need to send all the families away." I was like, "I thought they knew the risk. I thought this was what they signed up for. I
Yeah.
You can't keep going back and forth."
They immediately shot themselves in the foot with that comment.
Yeah, they ruined it for me. Yeah, not a fan. Anyways, I don't like it.
So I don't know what I don't know. Maybe I missed something in the episode. The thing that really confused me was Jordy's like, okay, so really the only way to stop this is to create a particle beam to tear apart the holograms. And they're like, and would that hurt the doctor? He's like, absolutely, that would hurt.
Absolutely. It would blow her skin straight off her skeleton. And they're like,
Well, that's
all opposed?
And it's like, okay. And I was just thinking, can you not cut power to the holodeck? Can you just not
No.
not
Mm-mm.
supply?
It's
And this
tied
is
in
the
with
thing.
the bridge, the second bridge in the nacelle area.
Yeah, this is the thing I don't understand. They say in another season one episode that if you were to cut power to the holodeck while people are in there, living matter are in there, they
Hmm
too would like disintegrate because they are a part of the holodeck. And it's like,
That's not, no.
and I'm like,
Mm-mm.
how though?
No, that's not how that works.
Yeah, because it's using energy to make matter.
Right.
If you cut the power, they would just stop sending energy to continue making matter.
Correct.
Yeah, and I get that like you as like people would also be made of like matter, but like the computer didn't create
Right.
that matter.
Yeah.
Right.
So
And that's a pretty big, I was just thinking, like, that's a pretty big concern if that's how it worked.
Right.
Like, just imagine being on the holodeck and all of a sudden they hit an asteroid field and it's like, oh, no power, you're all dead.
oh yeah. So after this episode, if I was on the ship, I'd be like, all right, well, not just put a big lock on the holodeck door. Like that's not being used anymore. Like we're done with that. Like
It really honestly just boils down to the fact that like the writers were like, we're just either not going to address it, or if you do that, it'll kill everybody. It's like, okay, we're not going to explain it, but yeah, it's like we'll just find other workarounds.
that was a funny scene anyway because Riker Riker like asked that question like he was the only genius in the room. He's like, Captain, what if we got rid of the matter? And then Picard's like, Geordi, is that possible? And then Geordi's like, oh, okay. So he goes on this whole spiel, and Picard's like, hey, boy. And then he gets through the whole thing, and he's like, but what if the doctor? And he's like, oh, yeah, she'd be dead. I'm like, oh. But would Moriarty be dead as well?
Could they transport her? Like, they never even addressed that.
That's right. There's
Who
so
knows?
many things that they probably could have done, but yeah, they're just like, nope, she's trapped in there.
I'm just glad that he didn't walk out and like that was how it ended, like the other episode
Like he
with the
grabs,
mobsters.
oh yeah, just disintegrate. I think I say he grabs Worf's phaser and shoots him or something.
He's got a hostage.
He's got a hostage, yeah.
No, because I think the doctor was trying that, right? When she was like, yeah, I'm going out there. You should come with me.
Yes.
I think she was thinking like he would disappear and end the program, but
Yeah. Did we all enjoy Worf in the suit and gloves?
it was great. Yeah. Nice suit. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's really funny. It's really funny that scene that Picard is the one that puts a top hat on. And I was
Oh,
like, yeah, Worf should probably be the one wearing the top hat because it would cover his like.
yeah. You have to get a really big one though, but yeah.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that they addressed, Moriarty was saying he had different thoughts. So
Yeah.
like he had thoughts of them being Sherlock and Watson, but he had thoughts that they are not.
Yeah.
Yep, that was a good point. Yep.
I liked that too. I liked everything about Moriarty, like the computer itself wanting to be more, didn't want to be destroyed. It because remember that episode, The Big Goodbye, too, like the detective's like partner, he was like,
Yeah.
it was an actually interesting question where he's like, so when you leave, like, do I go home to my family or does it all disappear? I was like,
Right.
man, that's actually a really interesting question. But like now we see that the computer can save
Yeah.
like that memory process of that
Yeah.
character. So I fully expect in Picard show that Moriarty is just a robot like AI character. So if I don't see it,
Well, we all know what happens. He goes on to fulfill his fantasy by becoming the butler to the Sheffield.
that's good. That's really good. What do you think he has control of on that old generator? Like what part of the ship do you think he's controlling?
He clearly has like thrusters or something. I don't even think he has control of like the warp core. I don't know. Just seemed like the computer kind of says what it is. It was like stabilization and something. So
Mhm.
I just think it's like minimal thrusters or something. So
Or could it be like
Yeah.
the stabilizer? Like the thing preventing them from
Mm.
flying forward or backwards when they accelerate,
mm,
decelerate?
yeah, it's very possible.
I wish it was like the gravity condenser and they could just like turn it and everyone would like Yeah, it's just funny. And he's like, perhaps I can use all of these beakers of liquid to bring my world to your world.
It's like, ah, yes.
Do you want two lumps?
Yeah.
And she's like, lumps of what?
It's
I
something
don't
like,
they don't know how sugar works.
no, she
How
would never
did
have.
how did the tea and because those are holodeck food and drink.
Yeah.
Don't ask.
I would assume it's kind of like the replicator, as that's how I sort of assumed it was like.
So here's the thing. So that scene, that's a good point, Andrew, because if the holodeck also uses the replicator technology to make food and drink that you can consume, that also implies to me that like Moriarty and people in there also are kind of like replicated. So they're not just like holograms. They could be more.
Not a bad running thought. It could
I mean,
explain how the
what's the
paper left.
difference?
It could explain how the paper left the holodeck too, right?
Yeah,
If
it's
it
actually
replicated. Yeah.
it's replicated, yeah. I like that he has the Enterprise drawn on the chalkboard too. That was
Yes.
pretty funny.
He says, you're going to go here. I don't know what that
Or
is.
perhaps we're already here. Are we all
Yeah.
here? In here on a vessel?
And she's like, no, we're in London. He's like, no, we're not.
No, we're not, idiot. Every time you lie to me, I know more that you're lying to me. Keep it up, I'll have to give you more tea and more crumpets.
Yeah. One of my favorite things was towards the end when he was like, and I will continue to fill you with crumpets.
Okay, so that's the line that
Uh,
legitimately made me laugh out loud.
uh,
He's like, I hope to see you again. And she's like, yeah, well, it could be a really long time. You'll stay the same, but I'll be an old lady. And he's like, yes. And then I will fill you with more crumpets. I was just like, oh, wow. All right. Okay. It's weird, but all right.
that's an odd thing to say, sir, but
Yeah, that's
okay.
interesting. It was just so random. I was
It
like,
was random. Yes.
you could just change it. Just change it to like, yeah, well, even if you're an old lady, I'll still have tea
I
and crumpets with you. But he's like, I'm gonna fill you full of crumpets.
I do think
And she's like, no. I just picture this old lady like, I can't eat anymore.
I
What is
do
this?
in rebuttal to that, I do think he could be mocking her because when Picard shows up in the scene,
Mm,
she does say
yeah, she
he's been
does. Yeah.
filling me with crumpets.
He's like, are you okay? She's like, I'm fine. And she's like brushing all the like
Yeah, yeah.
crumpets. I've just been eating down here.
Okay, so that sounds like a perfect time for trivia.
Oh, not again.
All right, now you're overacting.
So, according to Maurice Hurley, an executive producer for the show, the idea for this episode was inspired by Data's experiences in The Big Goodbye. Maurice Hurley stated it wasn't a writer saying, let's do this. It was one of the people living on the Enterprise. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm with you.
The original ending filmed was cut from the episode. Maurice Hurley recalled in that ending, Picard knew how to defeat Moriarty. He tricked him. He knew all
Hmm.
along that Moriarty could leave the holodeck whenever he wanted to, and he knew because when Data came out and showed him a drawing of the Enterprise, if that piece of paper could leave the holodeck, that means that the
Uh,
mortality failsafe had broken down. In turn, this means that the matter energy converter, which creates the holodeck, now allowed the matter to leave the holodeck, which was, up to that point, impossible. When he knew that paper had left the holodeck, he knew that Moriarty could as well, so he lied to him. This
wow.
ending was removed by Gene Roddenberry, who claimed that it hurt Picard's character by making him look deceitful. Maurice Hurley disagreed, noting, I thought it made him look clever, and since you are dealing with maybe the most profound criminal mind in literature, you've got to be careful.
That's an interesting point. I like the way this episode ends, if I'm being honest. I think it's cool.
Okay.
But I think it would have been a little bit nicer to see a little bit more tenacity from Picard, too.
Yeah.
Because I think
I
it's you're missing that. You're missing that. It's so funny that Roddenberry's like, I don't want him to be like Kirk. Kirk would have deceived him and talked out a robot.
right.
I don't want Picard. I want Picard to be like nice, but also he's not nice and he doesn't really get along with people. He hates kids. Okay, you got a lot going on there, Roddenberry. Like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm off to the beach. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny that they kind of addressed the paper thing and it kind of seems like that was going to be a part of the story, but at the same
Mm,
time, I don't know.
it seems like it was a more of a major thing, like them showing it.
Yes, I agree. Rob Bowman noted that this episode was a huge production. They built that whole street from the ground up on stage, indoors.
Uh,
It was an awesome episode. However, that's what he said. However, Bowman was angry with a cost cutting decision to reduce the schedule for filming from 8 to 7 days. He remarked, they made the shooting process one of the most unpleasant I've ever been through. I thought it almost killed the episode. Here was a great show where we had all this great production value. Brett Spiner was about to do the best work I've ever seen him do. We had all these sets, and they said 7 days. I think that
wow.
show is when I started to pull away from Star Trek because I felt that it was a great opportunity to make a wonderful episode, and there was an arbitrary decision because the sets cost so much. I think $200,000, where they
Jeez.
said, we'll save money by taking a day off the schedule. It's like, wait a minute, guys. First, you have to take a day out of the script. You don't just take a day off the schedule to save $60,000. As you can tell, I was pretty angry about it, and I still have a little hostility towards what I went through on that show to make it happen.
That's a
That
lot of money.
It
was,
is a lot of
yeah.
money.
That's the thing with it was the executives or producers or,
Yeah, basically like production staff, yeah.
yeah. So it's like they don't, there's a disconnect sometimes between what people think can work and what actually can work.
Yeah.
And the answer usually is you'll figure it out.
Yeah, true. True.
Hmm. Yeah, this is saying that 200,000 back then
Yeah.
is about basically 600,000 today.
Oof.
I told you that street was pretty impressive, that whole
Yeah.
London thing.
So it's like you kind of understand both sides of the angle here. Like
Hmm.
you're asking for at that time like an equivalent to like over $500,000, or they'll be like, or we'll just you don't get the film for an extra day, and we save over $500,000.
Yeah. It's like too, the other thing too is like, so you build that full set and then you use it for this episode and that's it. Unless like now maybe you can write in the future like they go back to London,
Oh yeah, I mean,
like you're not reusing it very much,
you
if
also
at
think like
all.
Paramount maybe would have timed it good with like another movie set, like filming, and then they just like used the set too.
Yep. Do like maybe a Jack the Ripper movie.
Right, or like a Christmas
Yeah.
Carol or something, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let me show you
Yeah.
some behind the scene pictures here. Ooh, beautiful. So the guy in the
Cool.
mustache is Rob Bowman. That's the
Hmm.
director. And there's
Is that the little pickpocket kid?
Yep, yep,
And there's LeVar Burton with actual glasses.
yep.
Mm-hmm. That's the weirdest thing in this picture.
He looks
Yes, he's-
normal.
Did you see the interview where he was talking about the visor?
I have seen a couple of them, yeah.
Where it's like he couldn't see anything below or above him. It was
Oh,
literally
yeah.
just what was in front of him.
I
Yeah.
bet it was really bad. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Because
he said it wasn't great.
yeah, it's basically one of those hair clip things that they
Mhm.
just put like a top and a bottom on and stuck on his face.
And this nice picture of them all together.
Ooh.
None of the computer questioned his visor.
Nope. Except for Moriarty. And then this last one is Brent, and that's Rick Berman. That's one of the executive producers at the time. Looks like they're going over a script or something.
That's a thick script, dude.
Yep. Scene 1. Enter holodeck. Data walks over to corner of street. Data says, "That man over there is..."
Over there. That's
I
funny.
thought you all would enjoy that, but now we can go back to the finale of the review. So I thought Data grabbing onto the mugger's finger was funny. I thought that was pretty good. Oh, let go of it, Gov.
It's so over the top, like, yeah, London bad guy.
Yeah.
Hey, give me two doubloonies.
Yeah, it was really funny to have Picard like, a tuppence, 2 pence. And then he takes
Yeah.
6 steps and he's like, give me all that money.
Hey, give me that. Oh, I saw you pick up them 2 pence. Them 2 pences is mine.
Did it also make you guys laugh that he's doing that? And then Picard, instead of Picard saying, like, enough, Data, he goes like, Data, let him go.
Data, let him go. Yeah.
Me? Data, let him go.
I think it was supposed to be played up a little bit more, like he was, like he came across like he was surprised, but like I think he was supposed to be like playing along with it a little bit more than he was.
Oh, maybe. Normally, it was like the thing Andrew said in the beginning. Normally, this is like probably a really super famous episode of Next Gen. It's probably if anybody remembers Star Trek Next Generation episode, this is probably in the top 15 episodes, I would say, easily. And I'm a pretty decent big fan of it. I like the Data Sherlock Holmes stuff, and obviously Daniel Davis is like phenomenal as Moriarty.
Mhm.
And even like Pulaski, though she's two-dimensional, is like tolerable in this episode. And
She's good this one.
it's fun to see Geordi and Data be friends and have more have more specialness together. But I found it really lackluster and also kind of like disappointing to have Geordi say to the computer, "Create an adversary that has the capability of being defeated by Data," and then Picard defeats him.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and Data, like, he's like, you bested me, like, good job.
Because that's
I
what I
think
was
maybe
thinking.
that's the point. Is like Data has to fail. That was like the point of the discussion in 10 Forward. But
That's what I was thinking. They didn't really address like as soon as they figure out Moriarty was sentient, like Data's whole thing was sidelined.
right,
Yeah, because I guess because like the safety of the ship became protocol over like,
yeah, and
hey,
it
you
makes
better get back
sense.
in there and solve this mystery.
It totally makes sense. Like why like a learning lesson or a fun game for Data would get like override by the safety of the ship. But at the same time, like Andrew just said, like as much as I like the ending of Picard basically doing this like all is forgiven thing to Geordi, which is nice. I kind of like that subtle exchange between each other when he says that to Geordi when they're looking at the boat.
for the shipping.
Yeah. Because Jordy's really down on it. He's like, I can't believe I messed everything up with
Right.
one word. And he's like, yeah, like, how would
I
you know?
I do think instead of going back to the ship, which I apparently they love the thing, instead of doing that, they should have gone to Data and been like, "Hey, what did you learn from this?" Because he failed, and like played on the whole 10 forward scene rather than the random ship and then Geordi and Picard being friends again, or the captain not being angry at his chief engineer, or whatever the takeaway from that was.
Mhm.
That's true. Yeah. It should have been more of a lesson for Data, one way or the other.
Right.
But the mask got broken when the ship shifted. So that's pretty important.
There's no answer to this question, but I was thinking because usually for like firefighters, if someone does something stupid, they make a whole bunch of protocols to make sure it never happens again.
Yeah.
How many protocols do you think were added to make sure Moriarty wasn't created again?
I bet that there's a holodeck protocol, the Geordi protocol. Like, don't tell the computer to outdo itself and go like full limit.
To your point, in a small way, which this is more like a fan theory than proven in Star Trek dialogue, it does a little bit feel like that when Moriarty takes over the holodeck and he's now controlling the ship in the holodeck, they can still get in, which feels like a safety protocol put into place when Picard and the gang are trapped in the holodeck with New York City or Chicago mobster guys, and they can't get in, and they have to like do all this outside the door like rewiring to like get inside the holodeck. So it's
That's
possible
true.
that they do actually think about those things in the writer's room, but I don't know. Like you said, there's probably not really an answer to it.
The main issues with the ending is basically like you're bringing out, they changed it. So
Yeah.
it seems like they quickly made a new ending.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as nicely like they didn't do anything with Pulaski. They didn't really talk to Data. It was like, oh, that's it. Here's the boat.
Yeah, it turned into like the whole point that we were all talking about in the beginning of like, well, just like what Caleb was saying, like the whole thing where okay, Data can do this, Data can do that, but it's like, but that doesn't really mean he's thinking. He's just like referring to stuff in his memory banks, and like that was kind of the premise of the episode was like, no, prove that Data is also like a learning machine, and that him trying to become more human-like, what comes with that is failing. Like that's kind of the general premise of the episode. And really, what it turns into is the engineer taking the ship too far, it getting broken, and the captain and being okay with it and kind of being like, everything's okay, buddy. Because that's kind of like the wrap up of the episode. Because they introduced the ship as a gift to the other captain. Geordi breaks the ship by creating Moriarty, and then in turn, that breaks the actual model, and then they the captain fixes the issue in the holodeck, and then basically does the same with Geordi. He like fixes Geordi's feelings. That's kind of what the episode turns into. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't know.
It doesn't make it bad. It's just it was one of those things that like it could have just been sent even better. Like it could
Yeah.
have been an even better episode.
Wasted potential.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, that was the review of the episode Elementary Dear Data. But before we move on to next week's episode and the outro, let's do the thing everyone's been waiting for.
Caleb?
So, Caleb, who gets the Erica Ortegas Award for being the most unlikable?
The mugger guy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Don't like him. Don't want to like him. Don't want to see him again. Liked when his hand got broke, so.
You're killing me.
Let me go, sir. Let me go. It was just 2 pence.
Next is the Elizabeth Cutler Award for being the most forgettable.
Moriarty's prostitute. I had no idea that that's even what she was,
Yeah, true.
and I still don't.
That's all right. To your point, it is funny that they introduced this lady who's apparently a prostitute, and then it's like nowhere to be found. Also, there's two men that are picking up the doctor and carrying her off, but we don't see those guys. Well, next is the Mugatu Award for the best alien of the episode.
Worf.
Worf.
Yeah, it's always Worf.
I don't even think you could really classify Moriarty as an alien, so yeah, good choice.
Yeah.
Next is the Trip Tucker Award for the MVP of the episode.
Picard.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
Wasn't it really funny too when you like you said he puts on the top hat, but he uses the cane to like punch it out, and like both Data and Worf are like, "What the heck?"
Oh, jeez. He's got a hostage. Yeah, it was pretty funny.
You know what's really nice, and I don't know what it is, but there is a clear appreciation for British actors. It is so obvious that Patrick Stewart and Daniel Davis, like, I don't know, even if they didn't get along on set, like, it's so clear that they respect each other as British actors, and you can tell that they like give each other the best acting possible. Because I personally think Patrick Stewart and Daniel Davis here, like, that scene at the end where they're going back and forth about it is like theater level, like masterclass type acting.
Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, they're both really good in that scene.
Yeah. So next is the Spock Award for the best line of the episode.
When Moriarty says he's gonna fill her with more biscuits. That was my favorite.
It's so good. It's so good that that's going to be. I so hope that in like, whatever, like 5 or 6 months from now when we're doing like a season 2 look back, and I'm going to
Yeah.
get to this thing and you're going to be like, "Oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
and that's going to be the
I'm
scene."
gonna just laugh and laugh and laugh.
That's going to be the one that's saved for all of season 2.
Yeah. Well, the thing is too is that I hope Ed Markstars is gonna be happy to get that sticker of Moriarty that says I'm gonna fill you full of biscuits. Because that is absolutely in the work now.
Sad Desert Riker, and now Moriarty filling people with crumpets. Got it.
Yes. Yeah.
Next is the Shran Award for the best action sequence.
When Moriarty pulls the lever.
When he pulls it and it cuts to Riker on the bridge.
Yes.
You're like, "Oh, what's happening?"
And he's like, "Hey, Worf, is everything fine?" He's like, "Yeah, there's like no readings on anything. I have no idea what's going on in there. It's." He's like, "Okay, sounds good.
We'll leave you to it,
Well,
Lieutenant.
let me know if the ship moves again. Now, I'll talk to you then."
If I couldn't have control of the ship, could I do this? Yeah. You got to build one of those in your basement. Well, next is the NX Award for some sweet ship stuff.
The Enterprise costume department.
The unsung hero, the quartermaster, who's like, "What do you guys want?" Okay.
What? Sherlock Holmes. I just pictured like in some room next to the holodeck is some quartermaster, and he's just got a tape measure around his neck, and he's
Yeah.
got like sewing needles in his like shirt, and he's just like
I want him to do all of that, Caleb. I want him to be like, "Ooh, la, 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 la,
and then he just pushes the
yeah, and then he just goes over it. He's like, "Computer, 17th century."
pipe and
Yeah. And he hands it back to him. So, next is the Porthos Award for the cheesiest thing of the episode.
I think it's probably the fact that they could come up with no other way of shutting down the holodeck.
Yeah,
You know,
I agree.
I agree as well.
I think that's pretty cheesy.
I think the thing that makes it even worse is the fact that the thing that Jordy comes up with would be like, oh, that'll totally kill the doctor, too. And it would be like, why would you come up with this idea?
Yeah, why would you even suggest it then, Gordon Jordy?
Like, do you not like the doctor or something? They should have just had
Yeah.
Troy be like, we'll talk about that later.
Oh, speaking of Troy,
Oh, okay.
do you guys find it weird that she sensed that like the computer emotion in the
Oh,
basement?
that
Like,
like Moriarty was like becoming sentient.
yeah, he's becoming aware. It's like, oh, okay.
I think is there an episode in season one where she says that she can like dully, or maybe not. I thought maybe she said that she could kind of like as aware of data, but not like maybe not. Maybe I'm totally wrong on that.
I don't know.
I also feel like there's an episode maybe in the future where she's like when she just looks at data, it's just like a blank slate and there is nothing there. So I don't know.
See, I think that's stupid, but I also remember in that same scene, I think Data's the one that was like, oh, well, the computer is trying to defeat me. The only way it could do that is to become sentient.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, well, she can sense the emotion of a sentient being. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I'll let it slide.
But she
But
should only
I don't
really,
like it.
yeah, I was gonna say she should really only sense like emotions though. So she's not like a mind reader.
Uh, her stuff changes week to week, so
Sure. Well, to get out of the pit of the cheese, let's go to the best of the best, the Star Trek Enterprise Award for the best scene of the episode.
that's gonna be Worf in his suit.
When he's coming out the turbo lift and fixing
Yep.
his glove.
When he's coming off the turbo lift.
Turbo lift
Yes.
before they go onto the hollow deck.
Hello deck.
Wow, nice.
And
Okay.
before they walk around the London Cowbell Stone.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, nice. Okay. I thought for sure it was going to be something with Moriarty in his lair saying, but I like it.
You would think it should be, but it's not.
I don't know if it should be, but I just thought maybe it would be.
I don't know. Have you ever seen a Klingon in a tuxedo before?
No.
Oh, well, there you go. Best scene of the episode.
Now it's your turn to be a part of the award ceremony. You can let us know who gets the popcorn award for being the best actor of the episode. And we'll get our own little insight by asking Andrew that right now.
I'm gonna have to give it to Moriarty.
Daniel Davis takes the
Yes.
win. Wow. All right.
Nice.
Well, we'll see what the rest of the internet says, Andrew, and see if Daniel Davis gets the popcorn award on our Hailing Frequencies Open series. But even though that concludes the award ceremony, it's now your turn to let us know what you thought of the episode. Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you want more of it? Or did you find this episode a little too elementary, my dear audience? Let us know down below.
Next time on Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, next week's episode, this one won the poll. So now we'll get to watch the trailer.
What's the
time
Enterprise
on
food?
Star
Oh, there you
Trek The Next Generation.
Data, do you even know what a joke is?
Joe Piscopo helps Data become the king of comedy.
Show me what is funny.
All right, you're on.
But a fugitive on the ship is no laughing matter.
You will come with me now.
And he's being hunted by enemies who could trigger a war.
They're threatening to attack the Enterprise.
On Star Trek The Next Generation.
Oh my God. Oh, that looks great.
Yes. Next week's episode will be episode 4 of Star Trek The Next Generation. And that episode is entitled The Outrageous Okona.
I generally wonder if they were trying to make like a Han Solo character.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. Yeah, so we have that to look forward to next week. So, as always, if you liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Share it with all your friends and family and Trek enthusiasts. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode, and ring that bell so you can watch the episode as soon as it comes out. And after this video ends, you can always head on over to Caleb's channel. Caleb has a fun prop channel. He also has over there other podcasts of him and I talking about various other franchises and things of that nature. Most notably and ongoing and current, Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every month we do a one Dragon Ball Z episode.
Well, always keep an eye out for it. So when you go over there and you watch the video, make sure you like it, make sure you comment on it, leave him a suggestion of something to make or for something for him to watch or something of that nature. Subscribe, you decide.
Yeah, I'll show you how it works. Andrew, name something for me to make.
Is it possible to make a Nuka-Cola bottle?
It could be possible. I've seen it done.
I really want him just to take it off of his shelf.
Yeah.
I'm finished.
Well, stick tuned, everybody, for the next episode where I learn how to blow glass for the first time ever.
No, I was thinking not glass though. Could you do it with like the 3D printer?
Yeah, I could. I saw a channel a long time ago. They 3D printed a bottle and then like molded and cast it in a clear resin.
You know what he
Pretty good.
should make is not Nuka Cola, but maybe Nuka Shine.
Ooh.
Nuka Shine would be cool.
Well, we thank our friend Andrew for joining once again. We didn't really tap into the fact that he is a big Sherlock Holmes fan, which this worked out very nicely for him to join. Andrew, how would you rate Brett Spiner impersonating Sherlock Holmes?
So this goes back to my issue with the episode because when he talked, he was at very good. Like when they did that whole thing with the walking, that was very nice. But they did that like 2 times or 3 times, you know.
Yeah.
It was like sprinkles of Sherlock Holmes, and then.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think he's better than some of the black and white ones, or no? When he was doing that brief little goes of it.
I think he's better than some people have done it, but not like
doesn't beat the classics.
No, he's no Jeremy Brett.
Very good. So yes, we appreciate you joining. We appreciate you adding some fun zest to the review. And if you enjoyed hearing Andrew's opinions and seeing him on the thing, you can always check out our Star Trek Adventure RPGs, where he plays a mentally distressed Vulcan science officer.
Hey, no spoilers.
No spoilers. No spoilers. We appreciate all of you commenting, subscribing, following along, caring so much about what we have to say, what we think about, looking for these videos. We look forward to talking about your comments at Healing Frequencies Open. And that's us for today. So, Andrew, send us out.
Computer, end program.
See you guys!